Still haven't figured out how to comment on the live stream.
It's okay. It's okay. Welcome back, all sports ranters. We are your hosts, Nico, Jake, and Ben. We want to invite you to please join us live, ask us your fantasy football questions, and join us and have some fun here today. But I want to start it off with a little bit of a question, guys. It's an important year. We're going into an election year, 2024, and so I don't want any details. I don't want descriptions. I want to bring us back to the playground a long time ago. If you were being picked by 2 different captains, okay? It's capture the flag near the jungle gym, okay? And on what, who do you want to be picked by? Never mind who you want to pick, but who do you want to be picked by in order to, do you feel to be confident to go win that particular game? One captain is the Joe Biden team, okay? And the other team is the Donald Trump team. I don't need to know why. I just need to know real quick to have confidence to go in and win this particular game in your life. Who do you think is the right captain to have? Jacob, please start us off.
It's not even close. I mean, Trump is a winner. He's a proven winner. Yeah, I mean, you heard it in his 2016 campaign. We're going to win so much. We're just tired of winning. If there's anybody that's going to figure it out, it's going to be Trump. I don't think Biden figures out how to get to the jungle gym personally. So I don't think I don't think there's even going to be a Biden team because unless he sends a proxy, which he might be doing now currently. But no, it's Trump all day.
Drew, you're on the playground. Back when you were a kid, you got 2 captains. You got Joe Biden on one side, Donald Trump on the other side. They're going to pick you. Who do you feel like is the right person to help you go win?
Please don't say McCaffrey.
Well, I mean, that guy helps a lot of people win. But, I think Trump's more of your leader, per se. So, I mean, I guess I'll go with that.
That's all we need to know. Nico, what do you think? Who do you think wins the game back when we were kids?
I'm going to have to wrap it up and agree with everybody and say Trump. And I'm going to go for a different reason. Sports is all about trash talking, right? Who's the best trash talker? Come on. Trump's a way better trash talker than Biden. Let's go with Trump for the trash talking. How about that?
Well, thank you guys for your input on who you believe would lead a winning team. I appreciate that, you guys. But let's get right into it. Week 14, fantasy football. It's crazy. We're always a part of a league where we're in the race for the playoffs. It comes down to the last week, but we have some interesting things. Last week was crazy. All right, we had some people still keeping in the playoffs, but we didn't see what would happen with Tyreek Hill and Deebo Samuel and CeeDee Lamb and also DK Metcalf. So please, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the standings of our league. But Jake, lead us into what happened this week in week 13.
Okay. I'm going to need like 4 minutes. Okay. Because
I'm timing you.
Lead us off, buddy. Lead us off.
Because I haven't been able to process it yet. I'm usually a pretty outspoken dude. I usually have an opinion on everything. I excelled in public speaking, and I was at a loss for words this weekend to the point where, I was contemplating being done with most leagues and just being done with fantasy football. And we've all done a lot of fantasy football, thousands of games, but rarely do you have one of those games, those wins or losses where you really stick it out. 5 years ago, I remember a loss that I had where in order to get into the playoffs, and I believe it was against Richie, not sure, but it came down to Monday night. I needed Joe Flacco to get 18 points. He ended up getting me ahead by 1.5 points. Baltimore was up by 10 points with less than 2 minutes to go. So obviously they're not throwing the ball right. I'm up by 1.5 points. And Flacco ends up throwing an interception, and I ended up getting the -2 and losing. I've remembered that loss for 5 years. But the loss that I took this week, where I finally had DK Metcalf go off, scored more points than he has in the last 5 weeks combined. 41 points, bonuses, and then on the same game, CeeDee Lamb being up 67 points with him having Tyler Lockett in the Thursday night game who put up like 4 points. It was like, I guess you can never count your chickens before they hatch, but how could you not? It's a standard league, and yes, he had Tyreek Hill, but it's like I still got the Eckler, I still got the David Montgomery, and that was it. And I was in second place, fighting for first place, and it's like I watched Tyreek Hill in the first quarter get that 60-something yarder, 70-yarder. It's like, okay, it was a hit to the gut, but okay, you got plenty of cushion, plenty of time.
I remember you texting, it's okay, he'll need another one or two, no big deal, and then he fucking did it.
and he does another one, and I'm still, it's okay. I like I'm getting hit, I'm getting hit, but I'm looking at realistically what's going on, his matchups. And then it's the Debo thing. And it's like I'm sitting in the bar and Debo gets his second touchdown, that long 50-yarder. I mean, he had, my opponent, I can't even say his name, had 24 points in just touchdown bonuses for distance. And that last touchdown, it's like something left my body as far as far as my passion, what I can actually put into fantasy football. Maybe it will come back. But like I lost something in that moment. I will forever remember this loss. I'm like, now that dropped me down because of the points scored and all that. Like I'm now in fourth place. I'm gonna miss playoffs again in this league. I actually made it to the championship last year, but I mean, like I am so passionately wanting to win this league because it has been my first league. It's been like 9 years. I've been the commissioner for all this time, and it was like. It's deeper than fantasy football. It was like the universe said, no, you're not going to do this. This just isn't meant to happen. And so, like, I haven't been able to process it. Like, I couldn't even, every time I started talking about it, I was getting mad at friends and girlfriends and all that. It's like, I couldn't even talk about it. It was devastating. It completely changed the rest of my weekend. And I've like just now been able to kind of like, formulate it, but I mean, it changed like part of me in fantasy football. I don't know if you're going to ever see the same passion after that loss.
Well, I just want to say real quick, the reason why we love you here and have us is because the passion that you put in. I know what it feels like to put in the work and to feel like you know what you're doing. You have the right team, but you're still not even relevant in your leagues. Drew, I want to ask you the same thing. What's going on, man? Normally you're in the top in the playoff run with this other league that we have, and this year we're just not up there, man. We're anticlimactic. So if you want to go ahead and share with us a few things, also with a few waiver wire pickups to help our viewers, take it away, man.
I mean, you nailed it on the dot last week, bro. We were talking about the week, what needed to happen, and this, that, and the other, and you're talking about your spoilers and how you're going to do this, that, and the other. And you were talking about, I hope I'm rooting for Debo. And because you said, I know I will be. And Debo did everything that he needed to do, that's for sure. He backed up his trash talk, talking about James Bradbury being trash and this, that, and the other after NFC Championship last year. Came out, put the black forces on pregame and got 3 touchdowns. I mean, he did exactly what he needed to do. Unfortunate, I was watching that game, and I'm watching Debo just take off. And I'm like, here we fucking go. Like, the offense was not doing much the first quarter in the Niners game, and then they just woke up, came alive, and Debo became a freak. And watching that play, you have Debo, and I'm like, there it goes. Like, there goes. Because I had a decent lead. And after that second touchdown, I knew it. I was like, well, I'm out. Like, I'm out of the league. Like, this year, I needed to have that win. Christian ended up winning. And so I'm out, man. Like, Christian's going to take the division. Me and Jake, we're done, and it sucks. I don't.
That was a slow death in Nick's league. Really slow death.
I would much rather be in this race for our playoffs than be a spoiler, Drew. So I love you, brother. I'm sorry about that, but go Debo Samuel. Nico, the standings for the first time ever in our league are set for the first time. That right is if I'm correct.
Correct.
Week won't even matter. Right, week 14 doesn't even matter other than maybe your seeding.
Yeah, so only for seeding, but yeah, it's the first time I've ran this league for 10 years. It's the first time that it's set going into the last week. It's kind of weird.
Nick, first championship appearance?
Hopefully.
Oh!
Yeah, congrats.
Hopefully.
Congrats.
I've had the bye week before. I ended up getting third. Like I said at the beginning of the year, I've been third 3 times. I'm hoping to get past that third damn mark.
I feel like it's your year, dude. Like you're tearing it up, man.
Well, that or I do the two of the Tyreek that's been carrying Mario all year scares me if I have to meet with him. With all the other teams, I feel like I have a well-balanced team. The one hope that gives me, and we've talked about it before, how I went unconventional with this draft with the Mahomes-Kelsey thing. Well, we're 13 weeks in, and the Mahomes-Kelsey thing is not working. So, and I'm still winning. So, obviously, I'm going to keep starting them, and I just hope they go off at the end of the year. Like, if they can, and then I can finally say, like, that's why I drafted you. Like, if I can ride that wave to the championship, I will perfectly be happy because I rode everybody else on the way there. They're my dogs that I drafted. I need them to win that chip for me. So,
I think CeeDee Lamb has a really good playoff or a really good schedule the rest of the way too. Like he's going to get you some really good games.
Yeah, and the Chiefs schedule is not too rough either. I mean, they got the Bills, but then it kind of lines up. They play the Raiders, and so even though I love my Raiders, they tend to give up points to Kelsey all the time. So we'll see.
Well,
I'm really happy.
The simple thing is this: you need. And we're getting a little choppy, huh?
You are.
I am. Oh, nice, perfect. So what I was gonna say is, what you really need is you just need Taylor Swift to go to the game, bro. That's really what it comes down to.
That's shit.
Taylor Swift shows up. Travis Kelce goes off, bro. You just need Taylor Swift to come back. Get out of wherever country she's at and come back and watch Travis Kelce play.
It's a Pfizer promotion conspiracy. I don't like it.
But even in those games, I think Patrick Mahomes only got like 20 points 3 times, maybe twice. Like he's Kelsey, averaging like 7 points a game less than last year. Last year he averaged 25 points. This year's at like 18. So I need Mahomes to also go off,
But look, guys, real quick, Jacob, Drew, and Nick, it's coming down to that last week into championship, and I know some of us are out, and I know, Jacob, you're demoralized, but had you been in, what can you do? Jake's hard us off. Is there something you can do? Drew, the waiver wire flavor, is there something, I know we talked about it, I don't know what else we can do. I'm streaming every defense that goes against Carolina. I'm sold into it. They're not gonna do anything, and so that's what I've done to help me gain points. So real quick, is there any advice that we can give at this point for those people that are still in the race?
Just I'm not even in my league where I lost. Like I'm still not technically out of it. There's not too much that you can. I mean, you ain't gonna find some golden nugget or anything like that that's gonna blow up for you. But honest to God, the real advice at this time of the year now is make sure if you got 2 guys that you're kind of split between, make sure you're looking at things like weather, indoor, outdoor. Make sure that you're really focusing on defensive matchups. I know today, like the Jets just released Tim Boyle. They're going to start some guy that was on the practice squad. Make sure you're trying to really focus on, look deep into defensive matchups, and then just weather is the other one. I mean, it's hard for these guys to go up into the Northeast and throw the ball around at this time of the year. So, you're going to be splitting hairs between some of your starters. But the other thing too, don't overthink it. Like even starting DK last week, it was I was really torn between starting DK or Josh Downs with Indy, because that guy usually gets a pretty good, pretty high floor. He gets a lot of targets, and DK's just been a total fucking letdown. But at the end of the day, it was you're at this point, play your starters. Don't overthink too much. I ended up benching Zach Charbonnet for Devin Singletary because I was like, well, I don't want to have two Seattle Seahawks on, starting in the same week and then have the team bust completely. Even though I was like, really felt like it was Charbonnet I should start, and I ended up starting Singletary. Not that it would have mattered because you can't beat Debo and Tyreek. But yeah, don't overthink it, but pay attention to weather, things like that, and try and really pay attention and focus in on defenses and what's going on with some of these teams.
Drew,
I would like to ask, are you guys in any 10-man teams? 10
Oh,
league?
hell no. Hell
Okay.
no.
Okay. So Jake, I have one. It's a work league, so we could only find 10. There's actually 2 work leagues. I'm in both, of course. Why wouldn't I be?
Right.
We have our 12, the original 12, and then another person wanted to start another one because more people wanted to play. We're only able to get 10. The reason why I bring it up is because there could be people out there that need that advice. And I just want to say, I'm in the playoffs, but it is so much harder with the 10-man league as far as who to start because my team is stacked and I pick wrong every single week. It's a different problem than a 12-man league.
Yeah.
And I hate it. Where in the 12-man league, like I said, I tend to, it's more draft-based, find a gem late, and then ride them. Like you just got to, like you said, start your starters. Yeah, you drafted them. You drafted DK. You got to go with them type of thing. In a 10-man league, I just want to share with you guys. I have Kyren Williams, Travis Etienne, David Montgomery, Joe Mixon as my running backs. Okay.
Funny, like those are all like the same tier too. Like that's like
I
really
pick
hard.
wrong every week. The guy I decide to bench goes off every week. This week, Joe Mixon. I benched Joe Mixon. He's got a backup quarterback playing against a good defense in the Jags.
The best
Joe
he's looked
Mixon's
in
not
2
going to do
years.
anything, right? I've benched David Montgomery when he scored 2 touchdowns coming off an injury. I benched Kyren Williams when he came off the IR. I'm like, you know what? I don't know how much he's going to get. 40 points. And so I don't know. If we have some viewers out there that struggle with this, I want to let you know we all struggle with this. I don't know who to start every week when you're in a 10-man league and you got all these studs. I mean, my receivers are Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Adam Thielen, and it was Christian Kirk. So I'm weaker on the other than Tyreek Hill. I'm like softer on the receiver end. So I usually start 3 of the 4 running backs. So normally in a PPR, you're going to start more receivers than running backs. But the way my roster is scheduled, I just read them to you. I have to start more running backs. I just can't start them all, and I pick wrong every week. It still feels like it. I'm 7-5 because of my depth, and I'm still getting up points. But those weeks I lose by 10 and 15 points, I got a guy on my bench who's got 30 every week. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. It's just frustrating.
I agree with you, Nick. I'm the 2 10-team leagues that I'm in are coincidentally the ones that I'm in first place in. Less experienced guys, whatnot, things like you're talking about. But it's perfect for me because I can trade all those guys that I have to get the guys I want. Anyways, I'm just gonna fit that in there. We have a question from our main man Jesus. Drew, what do you think? He's asking us if we got Lamar Jackson or Dak Prescott in Week 14.
Oh man, it's
gotta look at matchups. Where's the matchup?
Yeah,
I know.
It's Dak against Philly. Who is Baltimore against?
Detroit. They're up against. I had it. My bad.
What do we got here? Lamar.
Baltimore's playing the Rams.
Wow.
Okay.
Rams.
I honestly, I'd still go Dak, dude. Dak's been absolutely on fire. He's somebody you just got to ride that wave with, dude. I mean, he's the number 1 in touchdowns right now. I don't know how your league works as far as how your touchdowns go, if it's 6 or 4 points, but he does have still a little bit of rushing ability. I know it's not nearly as much as the rushing ability as Lamar, but with that said, I'm going to go down and I'm going to break down some stats here in a little bit as far as quarterbacks go. Dak Dak is one of those guys where I feel like you have to ride him, and his schedule going forward as far as playoffs and this, that, and the other. Jay kind of mentioned with CeeDee Lamb, they're very favorable going into the playoff matchups as well. So I would ride Dak all the way through if I had him. And then the one other quick thing as far as like, what do you guys do? When, I know you guys talk about, how do you prepare for fantasy playoffs and this, that, and the other. There's two things I want to say. You cuff all your running backs if you can. You get like, I know we said this earlier, but in other previous episodes, but you cut your wide receiver fours or whatever. Like, you don't need those guys anymore. Like, you need your running backs go down more often than not. I mean, we talked about it last week. I lost Jonathan Taylor, right? Well, guess what? I lost fucking Ramondre Stevenson this week. So it's like I lose running backs and all the time. You know what I mean? So if you have Zeke, okay, cool. You're gonna have a fill-in guy. And yeah, Zeke's the name, but he's still a capable running back. He's still not going to put up a bunch of numbers, but he's not going to give you duds and just not going to like completely kill you. So cuff the running backs that and especially when they're formidable named running backs, try and get those guys. You know what I mean? It's hard on the waiver wire. I know it's thin, but defenses, there's somebody you got to look into. Like, how do you prep for your defenses going into the playoffs? Well, look, 14, 15, 16. How are you going to get there? You got to get in the playoffs before you got to get in before anything else. That's the main thing. Get yourself in, and then if you're comfortably in, then you start looking at all these matchups down the road and prep your defenses, dude. If you need to get 2 defenses, 3 defenses on your bench, do it. Like, you know what I mean? Give yourself that advantage over your opponent, because defenses are crucial in fantasy football. Same thing with kickers too. If that's something you look into, look down the road. Hey, Justin Tucker's going to be playing against Buffalo in the freaking Niagara Falls. The snow is going to be heavy. Maybe I don't want Justin Tucker this week, which is crazy, but maybe you don't. So just keep that in mind.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Drew. Nico, some little more help if you have to break down for Lamar Jackson or Dak Prescott.
I just looked it up real quick. I see it why it's enticing, but it's got to be Dak. He's completely outperformed in fantasy wise. I know Lamar gives you that upside. They're coming off a bye, not playing a strong team with the Rams, but Dak also always plays the Eagles well, and the Eagles defense can be got. So, and you just got to keep riding the hot hand. CeeDee Lamb, we get these guys. CeeDee Lamb is now a true number one. We all had our doubts before the year, so to speak. When a guy's in rhythm like that, we've seen that, the Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chase, all that. Like, when they're having that year, they normally don't slow down. Like, they just keep having that year. We've just seen it too many times. He's that guy this year. Like, with Justin Jefferson getting hurt, Burrow getting hurt with Jamar Chase, like, CeeDee Lamb, other than Tyreek Hill, is that guy. So I would just keep riding that, and I would just go with Dak. He's over 20 points almost every week. Lamar is not. He's been under 20 points most of the week. So stick with Dak.
You agree, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to add, you have some of these coaches in the NFL, and McCarthy's one of them this year with Dallas, where it's like they get up by 2 or 3 scores and they're not letting the foot off the gas. Miami's another one. And I feel like a lot of the success, like having CeeDee Lamb, it's like these guys, it's like the Cowboys get up. It's like they're like, they're up by 2 scores. Like I start like tuning out like to CeeDee's like stat line. But dude keeps getting catches and keeps getting yardage, and it's just because it's like McCarthy's got this mindset of just like pedal to the metal. Their offense is going to score points. They have something to prove. Especially when you have the Niners and Philly, and they're all being talked about, like, is this, who's number one and all that. Luckily, Dallas, McCarthy has this mindset where it's like, we're going to try and go out and score 50 points a game, and Miami's the same way, with McDaniels. It's like, we're going to try and go out and score 50 points a game. So yeah, I'm riding Dak all the way. Like, if you have Dak on your lineup, you're probably in the playoffs, and there should be zero question at this point.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jesus, for asking that question. I hope We did not do you wrong by a full consensus of Dak Prescott. Hopefully Lamar Jackson doesn't go off against the Rams. We'll see what happens. But we want to move on to the next subject. I want to say thank you guys for all your advice, and I want to say good luck to you for whatever chance you may have next week to squeak into a playoff or to get something. Nick, I really hope that you get a chance to win this league. I think it's been a decade, right? I think it's been a decade. I'm going to say
now
that
I'm out, like, go for it, Nick.
You're on mute too, just so you know, Nick. I think he's talking to somebody else.
Nick,
but
you're on mute. But
let's go into the MVP talk. I appreciate the picture you have up today, Drew. But believe it or not, Vegas has Brock Purdy, Big Cock Brock, as the front runner to be the next MVP for the 2023 season. So we want to stay away from the whole dude and system quarterback conversations, but that's the truth. The stats say that he's the MVP. Do you support that case?
Yeah, I think he's there. I think you look at the other two, I think main competition-wise people that he had as far as Dak and maybe Jalen Hurts. He's outperformed both those guys when they played against them. He went toe-to-toe with both of them, and he blew them out. I mean, 42-10 on Dallas, and then they just smoked the Eagles. So yeah, it's a team game, but like anybody else knows that quarterbacks get to shine when big games happen, and not to mention Brock's looked good. Like Brock had 4 touchdowns, no picks against Dallas's defense, which is supposed to be elite. He had, over here he had 3 touchdowns, no picks, and threw for 3. Or actually, no, he had another 4. He had 4 touchdowns yesterday, so 4 and 300 plus yards and no picks. I mean, the guy gets it done. I mean, we can talk about it. If you want me to break down the stats, I have them. Actually in here, just really quickly, I'll get to them real quick. It's not going to be too big. It's not going to be like Knicks Raiders situation. But I will dive into it. We'll talk about real fast. We'll talk about Brock Purdy as far as passing yards go. He's 7th. He's 7th in the league right now. The people that are up there are going to surprise you. C.J. Stroud's number 1, Sam Howell's number 2, Tua, Jared Goff, and Dak. That's going to be your top 5. Wow. After that, it's Josh Allen, it's Brock Purdy. So he's far in front of Mahomes, Hurts, and Herbert. And then we talk about Lamar Jackson because I know some people are talking about him. He's all the way down to 17. Completion percentage, he's number 1. Tua's 2, Dak is 3. Lamar's 5th, and Josh Allen's 6th. Lamar Holmes is 7th. Jalen Hurts, 12th. Average depth per throw. Brock is number 1. Tua's 2. Dak is 4. Lamar's 5th. You know what I mean? We're going to touchdowns. Brock Purdy's number 4 as far as that goes. He's with 23. He only has 2 rushing touchdowns. Dak's number 1. Like I said, he has 26. Obviously, you start getting into these rushing style quarterbacks where you got Josh Allen. He has 24, but he also has 9 rushing touchdowns. Hurts has 11 passing touchdowns, but he has 12 rushing touchdowns. So
12 rushing
those
touchdowns?
guys are going to, they're multi. Jalen Hurts has 12 rushing touchdowns.
I didn't know that.
As far as interceptions,
11 of them are the tush push.
I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot that can do it. Goff tried like a few games. It looked terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, it's when you look at how many touchdowns total Jalen Hurts has, I get whether there's competition there for sure, but when you go into their house and you put on a shellacking like he did, I think that might put you to the next tier. When you look at interceptions, Josh Allen's 2nd with 13, Mahomes and Hurts and Tua, they're all tied 5th with 10, and then Dak and Brock both have 6, and the only 2 full-time starting quarterbacks that have less are Lamar Jackson and C.J. Stroud. So it's like, you look at the numbers, you look at what it breaks down to, he's basically in top 5 categories throughout every single major statistic. And I didn't even mention, since Debo's been in there, I know they had the 3-game slide, right? No Debo, no Trent Williams. But when Debo's been in there, and McCaffrey, he's 16-0. He hasn't lost when Debo and McCaffrey are healthy. And this year, when Debo's in the lineup, he's putting up 30-plus points every single game. What more are we talking about? crown the man. Like, the dude is the MVP of the season. I mean, I'm open for other people's takes, but for me, that's the proof is in the pudding.
All right, Nico, do you have another case for somebody in the MVP race? Because I'm not so sure just because you're top 5 that makes you MVP. Nick?
Yeah, there's two different conversations. Is this a true MVP or is this the best quarterback of the year award?
It's the best quarterback of the year award.
Because they tend to make it a quarterback award, which in general, I get it. Unless, and here's my thing, unless another position does something really unique, or there's not a standout quarterback. And this year I can make an argument there's not a standout quarterback. And what I mean by that, there's not Andrews made all great points, but he's in the top 5. He ain't leading all these categories. Dak Prescott, his downside is they're all bad opponents. If you really look at it, Dak Prescott hasn't beat anybody. His first real game test was the Seahawks, but as far as a test, the Seahawks defense is not that great either. So when he's faced a good team, he hasn't put up the stats. So you can make a case he's not MVP. So my MVP of the year should be Tyreek Hill. MVP, most valuable player. If you remove that player, how does that team look? I think Miami takes the biggest drop-off of any of these teams between Dak, Jalen Hurts, and Brock Purdy. They all have really good rosters. We all know that. I'm not saying you can just stick a Joe Schmo in there, but what I'm saying is put a competent quarterback in all 3 of those systems. They're probably not as good as they are, but they're not falling off. The way Tua and Mike McDaniels run that offense, dude, he makes it. I mean, look at Sunday. Look at the 2 touchdowns. He just burns his guy. You just got to throw it up. You just get a lead, and then the game's over. Like, he's just so dynamic and so unique. The last non-quarterback to win it was Adrian Peterson. Why? 2,000 rushing yards. Just a monster of a year for a non-quarterback. And no quarterback had a really good year, could separate themselves. You know, LaDainian Tomlinson was MVP in 2006. So I just think it's one of those tricky years where none of these quarterbacks are separating themselves. And Tyreek Hill on a 16-game schedule is on pace for 2,000 yards. Not 17. On a 16-game schedule, he's on pace for 2,000. So I just think right now, it's Tyreek Hill. I will say for Dak, we'll get to see these next 5 games. There's still 5 games left. So he's playing the Bills, Miami, the Eagles. We get to finally see, hey, do it against all these playoff teams versus Carolina and the Jets and all these other teams that he's been playing. So, but as of right now, I think if Tyreek continues this, and especially, like, let's just say Miami gets the 1 seed, because they're still in it for the 1 seed, like, dude, it's got to go to Tyreek. It's got to go to Tyreek. But, again, we're just talking right now. There's 5 games left. So much could happen. If Tyreek falls off, then it's not him, right? So I just think right now it's Tyreek.
Jacob, what do you think? Who do you think it might be, and what do you think makes the MVP every year?
Well, simple. I mean, I think it's Josh Allen. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No. So, like, honestly, like, both Drew and Nick, you guys, like, made great points. Like, I'm not even going to be able to top that. Andrew, like, with Purdy, you're right. Like, I agree. I mean, the dude has been absolutely fantastic. My question is just if I'm playing devil's advocate, has he been able to be so great because McCaffrey has been so great with that offensive line, and the defense for San Francisco has just overall been fantastic? Has Purdy just been set up in his environment to have the opportunity to be great without really having been asked too much? And he has done everything that they've asked. Like, you're right. Like, I'm not arguing against Purdy. I'm just saying, when I look at him and Jalen Hurts, like, Hurts, that secondary has been terrible. Like if the Eagles are in it and the Eagles are winning games, it's because that offense is keeping them in games. The defense is not winning games for them. There's been a lot of games this year where I feel like San Francisco's defense has won the game for them. But that being said, it's like, do I look at Jalen Hurts as doing, as much for that offense as Dak? No. Honestly, like if what the MVP means to me is like I said, what does the team look like when that player isn't there? And if and that is truly what I think of as the MVP of the league is how different does that team look? And if that's the case, and it really is, like, I mean, I hate to bandwagon, but I have to side with Nick. Tyreek Hill is doing things that are just special. Like, they're just, dude, the guy is on another level. And the offense, he has an offense. He has a head coach and a quarterback that believe in the system, and that I mean, Tyreek Hill is going to get his targets. He's going to get his plays, but they find every which way to get that guy the ball. But he absolutely does the most with it. And I don't think that there's any other receiver in the league that can do what he's doing. And I don't think that there's any player in the league where if you remove him from that offense, that they have nearly the same success. So if they told me tomorrow Tyreek Hill was the MVP, I absolutely there's no way you can disagree with that. But I'm kind of on board right now, like, as far as it goes, like, I want to see what Dallas does the next few weeks, and see where Dak really, when under pressure, like, what he does. Because I think what Dak is doing is special. Like, that offense has been fantastic, and Dak has been great. And I'm sorry, but they don't have the defense as the 49ers. I feel like the 49ers are the best team in football right now, but it's like that defense is so dominating. Every facet of the game with San Francisco is dominating. And so it's hard for me to say, like, okay, well, then we're going to give Brock Purdy the MVP. But it's like McCaffrey's having a great year. The defense is stellar. So I agree with all the stats that Drew brought up, but, like, I feel like there's other quarterbacks that are right there in those rankings that Drew gave, where they don't quite have the defense, so they don't quite have the running game, the support around them. So if I had to pick my MVP today, it would be Tyreek Hill, but I want to see the next few weeks and see what Dak does, because I think what Dak is doing is also special. That's what I got.
I want to add a couple things. Yeah. For both the Brock Purdy thing, and he did it against Cleveland when he's having a really bad day, but he still drives down and they miss a field goal. So, but I think that's one of the downsides of Purdy, and it's actually a Kyle Shanahan stat, not a Purdy stat. Aren't they they're 4-33 when they're losing in the fourth quarter? Like, Kyle Shanahan, his teams, like, when they're down in the fourth, like, just don't win those games. So I think that's the naysayers of Brock Purdy. They want to see that out of Brock Purdy to then say, okay, he is the dude, because in the past, Kyle Shanahan hasn't had a guy that could win in those fourth quarters. And they look pretty when they're ahead and they dominate everybody. But what happens when they're in that dogfight, and what happens when they're down by 8, down by 10, down by 7 in the fourth quarter? Can they come back and win that game? Again, that stat is a Kyle Shanahan stat, not a Brock Purdy stat. But again, that's what they want Brock Purdy to show. And on Tyreek Hill, I just want to stay real quick. I know I said it for years with Travis Kelce, and why I know I'm watching greatness, and like Jake said, something that no one else can do, is because he makes it look so easy. He's so wide open. Now, you can say 1 week, 2 weeks, they busted the coverage. I was like, no, I'm 100% sure last week they've ran that defense against every other team, and no one has done that. But you can't do that against Tyreek Hill. That's the problem. And I said it because I had to watch it so many years, for 10 years, Travis Kelce. It's just like, all you have to do is cover him. Just cover Travis Kelce. And for some reason, he's open. For some reason, at the end of the game, Travis Kelce's got 10 catches for $120 and 2 touchdowns. And you're like, what was your game plan? The problem is you're game planning against them, and it doesn't matter. That's when you know you're seeing greatness. It doesn't matter what you want to do against Tyreek Hill.
With Tyreek Hill, like, and this is how impactful he is. If the Miami Dolphins said for every game the rest of the season, okay, like, we're gonna feed Jalen Waddle, and we're just gonna feed him and feed him and feed him. The guy would get 250 yards and 3 touchdowns a game if, because of Tyreek Hill, because of how much defenses have to focus on covering him, like they game plan like they're trying to feed Tyreek Hill. They're obviously trying to get him the ball. They traded a bunch to get him over here. They're trying to get him the record. But they said, you know what? We're not going to throw the ball one more time to Tyreek Hill the rest of the season. Teams would still try and double and triple coverage him. And then you could just throw it to Waddle all day. You could throw it to the other receivers all day long. That's how impactful Tyreek Hill is to that team.
I feel like he could just line up and run a 9, which is the go route. Just run a go route every single play, and he'd still have 5 catches for 2 touchdowns. Like, on one of those plays, he's gonna burn both of the guys. Like, just run a go every time. He's gonna get open on one of them. Like on 2 or 3 of them. Like, he's just crazy to me. He's just crazy to me to watch.
We've had a defensive player be the MVP before, correct?
Lawrence
Urlacher, no?
Who?
Was it Woodson, or was Woodson the Heisman guy? Charles Woodson. He was a
Heisman.
Yeah.
Did Urlacher win MVP? I want to say I think Urlacher did. Bears were nasty, no?
I'll find that right.
I'm just wondering because I love everybody's points, and we talk about the team effort and production and how valuable you are to your team, but I also believe it's to the league. I'm gonna have to side with you guys with Tyreek Hill for right now because. Would the league be that fun? Would it be that interesting? Would people chime in that much without what's happening with Tyreek Hill? I want to give all respect to Brock Purdy and the 49ers and how well that they're doing. But like I said, it's just a little bit more exciting, I think, all around for fans to watch what's happening with Tyreek Hill. I agree. You just don't see that very often, you know.
So yeah, I was right. The last person was Lawrence Taylor. He was the only one that I knew of. And then before that was in 1971, Alan Page. But no one has.
Oh, Alan Page, yeah, him.
Yeah, that guy. But no one. I knew Lawrence Taylor. I was like, no one's won it since Lawrence Taylor.
So it's been over 30 years since they even considered a defensive player being the MVP of a league.
I watched Nick Wright, and he was advocating for Myles Garrett and the kind of year he was having with Cleveland defense. But just. Again, the way that the whole team works, if Deshaun Watson would have stayed healthy and they would have been in the playoffs more, you know, yeah, I think he would have had a shot. Not really, but like in our eyes, he would have had a shot. The voters would have never done it, but
yeah,
I don't know why.
Got hurt. My whole thing is like I'm not disagreeing with you guys at all. Like if it goes to Tyreek Hill, I wouldn't be upset in the slightest. But the way that this league goes and the way that it's always been is it's MVP is the quarterback. You know what I mean? Like that's just basically the way it is. If it goes to Tyreek Hill, by all means, like hats off, dude. Like the guy's had a phenomenal season, and I'm not here to argue with that. But if it goes to Dak, I mean, if Dak shines, like, and then I'm talking about like he puts up big numbers in these next couple of weeks, sure. But if I'm a voter, I'm an MVP voter, and I just go to that Niners game, if it's between Brock and Dak, I'm going to go to that game. I'm like, dude, he had 3 crucial interceptions to lose his team pretty much that game and give Brock Purdy and the Niners that win. So it's like,
that's what I'm saying. The next few weeks are so crucial for Dak because you're right. The guy could come out and fall on his face, and I'm with you. Like, dude, I mean, you can't just beat up on these shit teams with no defenses and win the MVP. So I'm with you. I just feel like with the Niners, it's like if Purdy breaks his hand, all he's got to do is hand it off to McCaffrey and Deebo, and they got just as good a chance of winning as anything. You know, like I just feel like
not as good of a chance. Not as good of a chance.
But pretty close. Like,
I understand what Drew was saying. It kind of hurts me a little bit. We talked a little bit about last week about the way the game is changing, But I do believe the reason why quarterback is always chosen at the helm for MVP is another sign of the way the league is changing with penalties and what they want the game to be, which is high scoring, no defensive football. And I hate it. I fucking hate it. So, I just want to say with that, you guys, thank you very much for joining us this week. Cover what's happening for Week 14 in fantasy and obviously the hot topics of the NFL. I appreciate you guys. And I want to say thank you to Jesus. Thank you, Diego. Thank you to all our viewers for joining in and asking questions. Hopefully we continue to grow here.
I do want to say it's unfortunate I'm the only one in the playoffs in our podcast. I don't know what happened with that.
Thanks.
Come on, guys. We finally get fantasy football advice, and you guys aren't in it. What's going on?
We should get Mario in here next week for like a special guest. I'm
down. We'll figure it out.
Get Mario in here.
We'll figure it out. But thanks for highlighting that for the show, Nick, that we all suck compared to you. But with that being said, guys, see you next week. Peace to the journey. And one love.
Later, guys.
Later.
Yeah.